Hey guys, welcome back to the Glory Living channel. My name is Hannah and it has been a while since the last video. It has been so busy, so rainy, so hard to do videos. We have been doing so much work prepping the garden, and guys, I just wanted to jump back into doing videos and kind of give you a little pre-tour of the garden. Although everything is still small, it is just waiting to take off and be big and start producing. We're so excited. I'm gonna give you a little tour today of what we've got going on so you can see all the work we've been doing and share with you all the exciting things going on. All right, let's go check it out. Okay, so I've said this before, but for those of you who are new and do not know this, we do not actually own land, my husband and I. We rent our house. We don't have much room for growing in ground over there, so we grow a lot in pots and buckets over at our house. But we have family who's allowed us to borrow some of their property to garden in, and that has been awesome because we can do way larger scale here than we can at our house, even though we do grow a lot at our rental house. So today I want to give you a tour of what we have at our larger garden on our family's land. I just want to show you what's going on because there's lots of exciting things. So I want to give you a little bit of a tour. I want to explain to you some of the things that we did this year that were different than last year and some of the things that we kept doing because they worked so well. One thing that you'll notice behind me is our solar energizer here for our electric fence. That has been such a great tool for keeping out the groundhogs and the raccoons because boy, they can be so pesky when it comes to gardening. And so we do a double fence. We have an electric fence on the outside, and then about 6 feet in or so, you can do less, we have another fence. Most of that is used with just like a nylon deer fencing. We ran a little short this year and just used some extra fencing that our family had lying around that was not in use. That's just kind of more of a metal, galvanized metal fencing, just for the gate and whatnot. But the double fence has been a game changer because it has kept out the deer. We have tried fishing line and things like that, and it really did not work at deterring the deer. And once they figure out they can break through, then your garden's over. So it also didn't keep out the groundhog that is home here and kind of just hangs out literally in this area. So we had to figure out a way of keeping these animals out, and we were getting destroyed by the animals. So this worked so well last year. Our garden was almost weed-free and was so easy to maintain in comparison to what it had been used before with the black plastic, and then with the double fencing. It kept out all the animals. It was just like a dream. One thing that we did different this year was we actually filled in the spaces in between the two fences with black plastic. We had extra black plastic on a roll that we tried spreading around, and then we bought for additional space that we had cheaper black plastic, which was honestly a little bit of a mistake. We totally had another lesson in how good the DeWitt Sunbelt woven weed fabric is. It's amazing stuff, and anything else is kind of almost trash. So we just bought a cheap stuff just to try and keep the grass down because that was so chaotic to try and keep the grass mowed in between the fencing last year. Such a pain in the butt. So we just wanted to lay black plastic. So you can see some holes in this one right here, and that is because those were extra fabric from last year that we used in our potatoes. That I'm going to show you in a minute how our potatoes are doing, but we used that last year for those, and so that had holes in it. So we just put extra plants that we were not planting in the main garden that were just like extra cherry tomatoes or extra cucumbers or extra herbs, and just put them here. And it was kind of like, if they live, they live. If they die, they die. It's okay, but they're kind of extra, and if they take off, great. You know, those are the ones that always did the best. It's kind of the irony, I think. But anyways, before we go into the main garden, I want to show you our potato patch because it's looking great and really excited. Okay, so behind us here is our potato patch, as I call it. I have a video from several weeks ago of us planting these potatoes. Last year, I put woven weed fabric on the ground. I auger drilled a hole, I don't know how deep in and threw the potato in. What I ended up finding out was the potatoes didn't grow any further than the woven weed fabric. And that was super discouraging and disappointing because I had spent money buying straw and things to pile on top, and it had just stopped growing over the weed fabric, where the weed fabric was. So that was like such a waste to me, and I was wondering, but we still got 50 pounds of potatoes, so it made me think like, okay, could we get way more potatoes if I didn't do that? And I just tried to keep the weeds down. Well, the weeds were getting out of control here the other day, but I came in here and really attacked them. And guys, everything looks so good. Let's see these potatoes. It's so exciting to see these getting larger. Some are bigger than others, but they're looking really good. So we've got all of our potatoes in here. I think we ended up with over 30 potato plants. And I was going to do sweet potatoes. My slips did not work out super well, and so I ended up buying some, and I just got these put in the other day. Some took off, some totally wilted. This pile is not doing great. These ones over here look good still. And I just did them in a mound. I have never, ever, ever planted sweet potatoes. And so I really don't know what I'm doing, but I don't really mind. I just, you know, you go on Farmer's Almanac and I just looked up how to plant them and it told me to put them in mounds. So I did that. We'll see what happens, you know. Some of these things that I grow, I'm like looking it up on the way while I'm going through trying to figure it out. But yeah, everything's looking so good. This was kind of a volunteer potato plant, if you can see it over here. It's huge. I forgot a potato, missed one last year and just tossed it over out of the way while I was getting the potatoes ready for this year. Forgot about it and it grew. So if you're wondering what you should be growing, potatoes are definitely one of those crops because they're another confidence booster. They want to grow, they want to feed you. It's like beans. If you can get them to germinate, they're gonna feed you. It's just like an easy crop to grow. So love potatoes. Super excited to hopefully get even more this year than we did last year. So guys, we have about, I just counted like 40 potato plants and like 5 sweet potato plants. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully we get a ton. I'm really excited. I'm hoping that we're totally overwhelmed with both potatoes and sweet potatoes, or at least get a few sweet potatoes just to enjoy. Some of them are not looking as good as others, but we'll see if they bounce back. So let's head into the main garden. Last year, I planted 16 cucumber plants. It was way too many. We were way overwhelmed. This year, we're only doing 8. And so we had 8 pickling cucumbers last year and 8 fresh eating cucumbers. We're just gonna do 4 of each this year. They're doing good. I have to replant a few. Are doing great. We already have some flowering. They're just over here. They're still small. We have to put up their trellis still, but they are doing good. We have some that are just coming up and looking awesome. I'm really excited. This year we're doing a fresh eating cucumber that is different than we did last year. It's supposed to be slimmer and just a really nice flavored cucumber. If you hear a buzzing noise in the background, it is because the one pest that we were reintroduced to this year, introduced to for the first time this year, were voles that we had to deal with. So we just had to take some precautions this year, got some of these sonar kind of things that are supposed to, you know, annoy the moles and the voles. Those are in the garden. We'll see if they work. Hopefully they will, and keep those pests out of here. Everything seems to be doing good, so I think that's a good sign. Okay, now onto peppers. We have all sorts of kinds of peppers. We have a bell pepper that was supposed to be an orange, really sweet bell pepper from Baker Creek. We have an orange blaze that is a hybrid as well. And then we've got some jalapenos and nadapinos. So we're growing a lot of different peppers. In this row, we've got 18 pepper plants, but we've got peppers in other areas as well. So last year we grew an Italian pepper that was an heirloom pepper. It was not super sweet. It was great for frying and it was super prolific and we loved it for that. But as far as fresh eating, you really had to wait until it was red because otherwise it was almost like inedible. It was so bitter. But it was fine for frying up, fine for putting in like sauce and things like that, or just sauteing up. That made it okay. But if we weren't frying it, it really wasn't as enjoyable to eat. So we ended up, I thought I had saved seeds from it last year, but we didn't, unfortunately. So if I want those in the future, I can get them. But we went with something different this year to try and go with something that would be sweet and hopefully a prolific bell. I have a harder time growing bells, but hopefully it'll still do well. I've kind of given up on the California Wonder. Anyways, our peppers are doing good. They're smaller this year than they were last year, but they're still looking good. Onto the squashes, which is kind of the exciting part. So we've got squashes and watermelon in a row, and we've got tons of that grown. So let's go check that out. Right here, we have got a Hansel eggplant growing. I'm excited about those. I've never grown eggplant in the garden. I was a little bit late when I decided, hey, maybe I want to do some eggplants, but they take 10 to 12 weeks indoors. So I just went to a local greenhouse that was really close by, and all I had were the Hansels, which are small ones, but still it'll be fun to grow and to kind of have that, which I have never grown before. So we've got 3 eggplants going on, and then we also have watermelon growing down this row. We will aim this watermelon over this way, which is where all our corn is. If you can see our corn, it's doing so good. We've got a couple of watermelons. We did the strawberry watermelon. They're supposed to be huge, and people, disagree whether the flavor is really good or whether they're bland, but that could just be the growers as far as when they're picking them. So that's what's going on with that. We also have our zucchini squashes back here. We've got 2 zucchinis and 2 yellow squash. We did the crookneck yellow squash and the, I think it was the it might have been just a Black Beauty zucchini. I know that's a type of eggplant as well, but we did the zucchini. And the zucchini was great. We got so many last year, we really cut back. Hopefully 2 is enough. We had like 6 last year, and I'm wondering whether we need a little bit more. I'd rather be overrun than feel lacking in the zucchini department. So what I want to show you next is our kind of experiment here. So what you see here is a bamboo, it's not a tripod because it's 4-legged. I don't know what the short term for that is, but we are going to trellis up our butternut squash and as well as our cantaloupe on this, and we're gonna see what happens. We had other plans for how we wanted to trellis with bamboo, and we're on a really big slope. I don't know if you can even tell from the camera, but we're on a really big slope, and we didn't think about that when I was laying out the garden and when I decided I wanted to do a bamboo trellis. And I didn't want to spend much more money. Bamboo can be free. This was free. And I thought, well, string's cheap. Let's just try that. Well, I still want to try the plan I had in my mind that I saw in a book to do, but not this year and not in this type of garden. So anyways, we're gonna give this a shot. We've got cantaloupe and butternut squash growing here. I have extra room for more things. I have 5 extra spaces kind of in our squash area. I didn't have any other seeds like spaghetti squash or anything like that. So I'm thinking about picking them up even though it's like late May. I kind of want to do that and maybe put them in the ground. We'll see what happens. I might just save these spots for our gourds to plant in a couple weeks. Next, as I mentioned before, the corn. We're gonna kind of steer our watermelon this way to just kind of drift in between the corn. We planted about 200 seeds. I still had some leftover seeds, so I might go back and replant them where they didn't germinate well, but honestly, the germination on this corn was amazing. This was just called, I think, like super sweet corn from Burpees. It was just a hybrid that's supposed to have good production, good husk protection. And yeah, so I wanted to grow that. I really enjoyed the corn we had last year that we got from Johnny Seeds. It was the best sweet corn my husband and I had ever had. I think it was called Natural Sweet. It was organic corn. It was so good. It was so good. I loved it. We loved it. It was just out of stock. So we went with this, but I'm really happy so far, and they all look good, and they germinated fast, and they look strong. So this might be a new favorite. We'll see. I don't mind experimenting with that, but hopefully we'll enjoy it. And so far, so good. It's so exciting to see seeds pop through and germinate. Our tomatoes are looking good. They're getting strong. Some of these are so thick and just look absolutely beautiful. I don't know if you can see them well. We still have to get our trellis up with these as well. It's been just so crazy and the rain has been so bad that trying to work, I've been working in the rain so often while trying to get this garden ready. But the tomatoes, we did more this year. Instead of having that extra, we took that row of cucumbers that we took out from last year and made it a row of tomatoes for this year. So we have about 44 tomato plants in here, and then I have some basil sprinkled in between. So exciting. We have so many, 6 or 7 varieties of tomatoes. We're growing a Opolka for our paste tomato, Cherokee purple. We're growing a Jet Star as well for a slicer tomato, a Juliet for a cherry tomato. And I also had 2 other kinds. I'm not sure if they landed in this garden, if they're just at the house, for some other cherry tomatoes I just had lying around, which was a 42-day one as well as a sweetie cherry. But one of our other favorites in here is we call an Irene tomato, and that is from my good friend who's 92 years old. She has been saving seeds from a tomato for like 40 or 50 years that she was given. And they are like an awesome, really cool story heirloom. I would love to like interview her in a video for you guys because she's amazing and one of the best gardeners I've ever met. And she has been saving these tomatoes, and she shared some with me, and now I will be growing them and saving them for years too. Last but not least are our beans. So last year we grew about 40 bean plants. We had corn, and then at the end of the corn rows we just did beans, and we had about 40 of them. I wanted way more beans this year, so I had an empty row that I turned into a bean row, and I did like I planted like 150 bean seeds. So a third of them were black beans, another third were a green bean, that was a Kalima, and then another third of them were, I can't remember what they're called, but it's like a Canter or something. I don't know how you say it, but that type of bean. Anyways, my germination on some of the other ones were not as good. It's kind of disappointing, and I have a feeling it's the white bean because I was having an issue with it at the house. I don't know why I'm having such poor germination with it. Black beans were amazing. They germinated great. I wanted to try those and try drying those out and just having fun with that this year. But green beans are kind of the start of the show, so I'm gonna have to either I might give them a little more time to germinate, but otherwise I'm gonna have to go back and replant some of those. So that's okay, we still have a ton of them, and I was hoping to succession plant, but if I can't do that, that's okay. We still hopefully will get a ton of green beans, and we'll obviously get a lot more than last year, doing at least double, if not more than that. Last year we only did 40 plants, and so obviously I have a lot more than 40 here, including the black beans, but as far as green beans, I only did green beans last year. I want a ton of them. That's my husband's favorite, and they're so good with dinners. Also just really good fresh, but they're really easy to blanch and freeze and save in the freezer for dinners, and a super easy side to just throw in a pan with garlic, salt, pepper, oil, butter, whatever. So good, so easy. So that is kind of where we're at for our garden here. There's this weird thing that as you garden more, you get comfortable with the excessive amount of food that you're growing. And I was growing this, and I kind of looked at my husband the other day while I was walking him through the garden. So I'm walking him through, and I just go, I just don't know if it's enough. And he's just like looking at me like, you're crazy, you know? But you get used to it year after year, like as you grow, and you want to just add more and experiment more and try more. And even a ton of food like this feels like, is it enough? And you know what? Once you grow this much food, you realize it's not like this is enough for a year. It's not. But it is still a ton of food, and it's something to be really thankful for. I'm really thankful for how the plants look. I have some things still to replant or that didn't germinate well that I want to redo. But you know what, guys, I already feel so blessed, and it's always so cool to watch how the Lord is so faithful. And it was kind of a stressful gardening year as far as getting things going, but it's just so beautiful, and it's all working out so well. So I'm so excited to see what happens, and that's just here. I can't wait to show you what we've got going on in our house, because we've got tons of plants growing there. And I really want to encourage people who don't have room to grow that you still can grow even in small spaces. But I'm really thankful that we do have this space here, and I want to do some videos here soon on the different types of trellises we use, because there's a lot of creative ways you can trellis up your plants as well. So hopefully we will be absolutely overwhelmed with tomatoes and corn and watermelon and squashes and beans, and everything will just go really well. We're so excited to see how the Lord is going to bless us, and just wait and be patient, and hopefully we can keep all the pests out and they'll stay out like they did last year. Guys, thank you so much for joining me once again and doing a little tour of this garden. Cannot wait to share it with you as things get bigger and taller, and the green, beautiful plants are just gorgeous and big, and I just can't wait to show you. It's just one of the most beautiful things is to walk through a garden, and I just love it, and I can't wait to share it with you. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and until next time, I really will. See you soon.